Thank you. I would also love to bring up one of my composers, Mike Griffin of Mondo Boys. I'm so proud of the score, so I would love for Mike to come up too. If you have questions about the music, please ask. One more thing while Mike is coming up, I would just love to acknowledge my co-director and editor, Keita Ideno. He's currently in Japan. Otherwise, he would be here with us today.
Thank you. Well, thank you for coming to the festival. Thank you for bringing this film. For people who didn't know this whole story, how did you find out about this whole, this subject and what he went through?
Yeah, so I've always, I guess, had sort of a foot in the door of the death investigation community. Growing up, my father was a coroner, a medical examiner, so I've always been interested in the work of public service and been witness to the great sacrifice that our public servants make, personal sacrifices. So when I was working sort of in documentary, and then when one of my producers found a book, Coroner, written by Dr. Noguchi, on the dollar book rack of a used bookstore. He's like, I wonder what this guy's up to these days. And we reached out to him, and we started building a relationship that took a long time to develop because Dr. Noguchi was very skeptical, obviously, of the press. And he had been asked about doing projects and documentaries before and didn't want to do it. So it took convincing him that, hey, we're not the press, we're filmmakers, it's a little bit different. And I just started following him basically to all these medical conferences all over the world, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna trust you guys now. But that took a very long time, and this project took 10 years to make, so yeah.
When you say it took 10 years, when is that from production or from producing or filming?
So as a composer, usually you join it late, but I met with Ben 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just a meeting, he had a reel, an edited reel with music. And so that's been a legit 10 years of trying it out. It's a hard story to crack. There's a lot of great material. We all know the beautiful stuff that's there. But weirdly enough, it takes a long time to crack. It took Ben to really look at it from different ways. It can become episodic, right? It can be too episodic. But he found a way to make it with some through lines. But it takes a long time.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Mike mentions episodic. We were, is this a series? Is this a feature? And I think, I was naive both in what I thought this story was when I started, and also just in my filmmaking abilities. So, I wouldn't encourage anyone to take 10 years to finish the project. But
it happens.
Yeah, but the project was really strengthened because of the longevity of it. And during the production, we lost Dr. Noguchi's wife, which I think really after that happened, it really helped inform the story that we were trying to tell, because the way in which he dealt with these public deaths, to the press and to members of the media. And then when his own wife passed away, he didn't tell anyone. He couldn't talk about it. And to be the spokesperson of the dead for the public, for these celebrities. And then when death affects you personally, and to not be able to talk about it, it's that contrast became what was like the most important thing to me in the storytelling.
And I think that to your point too, the 10 years ago, I think the first interview with Dr. Noguchi was 10 years ago or more ago.
It was. Yeah.
And so it's been that long with Dr. Noguchi as well, and he's still with us. He came to the previous screening that we had in LA, and he showed up and did a Q&A. It was amazing. And he was going to come here.
He wanted to come here to Mammoth. He said that the last time he's been here, I have dinner with him almost every week, and the last time he was here was in the 1970s. He enjoys skiing. He's a professional scuba diver. So that's something we didn't get into in the film. But yeah, he wishes he could have been here. We were a little worried about the elevation and the car ride, but he sends his regards.
Because how old?
He's 98. And there was a piece, I think it was fate, that this morning a piece dropped about Dr. Noguchi, and in the New York Times, who he loves the New York Times. He hates the Los Angeles Times.
Yeah, that's fair.
He loves the New York Times. And yeah, he's sort of having this final act at 98. There's the documentary, and there's a play on a musical on Broadway called Dead Outlaw. And it is about one of these cases of Dr. Noguchi's. And they have a character portraying Dr. Noguchi singing and dancing about Natalie Wood and Sharon Tate. It's wild, but
And I do want to
he's
chime
excited.
in on this New York Times article that just dropped. They do mention this film and Ben, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you were working with him, you know, and talking about the past and stuff and how he handled everything, did he ever reveal that he had any regrets, or would he still do it the same way?
No, never. I mean, to this day, he says he would have done everything exactly the same. And, you know, back to the idea of being, you know, naive in what I was getting myself into. I was drawn to this story because of the celebrity deaths. And like, are we going to crack some new information about Marilyn Monroe or Natalie Wood, or let's finally get to the truth of the matter. And the truth is that, it's there in the autopsy report. You know, trust the science. Dr. Noguchi stands by his findings to this day. It's us, the public, who wants there to be more. Especially, you know, we have these parasocial relationships with famous people, and we want to not accept the science of how they died, or that they had, vices or faults. And so conspiracy theories developed, and they're sort of fun to explore and to talk about. But we really tried to root this in Dr. Noguchi's findings, which he stands by to this day.
And it's interesting just seeing like the whole Hollywood back then. We forget about how society was not that long ago, about how we were treating people of different ethnicities, and even today women are doing that whole retaliation thing. And so it's kind of full circle, like it's still happening, and very interesting.
Yeah.
To see,
Well, just to that point, I mean, the Dr. Noguchi being an immigrant and coming to America at the time that he did, and then rising to the level of success that he did, had never happened, and something like that, could never happen again. This sort of transcendence and his rising to fame and success in this way, and that became such an important part of the story. His cultural identity, and there was so much research that went into this, and finding different letters. I had no idea that George Takei was part of the story until I was like on box 7 or 8 in the Kenneth Hahn's personal archives, and I found a letter that George had written to the Board of Supervisors, a handwritten letter, really condemning them for the mistreatment against Dr. Noguchi. And then I got in touch with George. George hooked us up with he was like ready to go. He's like, finally, we're finally telling this story. It's about time. And then he hooked us up with the Japanese American National Museum, who became our fiscal sponsor, who's been great to work with as well. So a story that seems like it's so much about death and celebrity is really, I hope, a story about support and a love story, the support of Hisako, Dr. Noguchi's wife, and the support of the Japanese American community, who really, helped him through some of these trials that he had.
It was a great job, and yeah, to your point, I think you really balanced the history with the storytelling really well. It's really beautifully done. So I'm curious, in all the research that went into it, there is a bit of like Asian American history erasure. It's a lot of history. It's in textbooks is like whitewashed, and Asian American and grew up in Wisconsin, so I probably know more about America than I do about my Asian heritage. And I'm curious, in the research that you were doing, I feel like you talked to the academics and the activists in the Asian American space, which is really nicely balanced. And I'm wondering, like, maybe in the archival material, like footage and the historical details, did you have any challenges in finding more of the documentation and that?
Challenge finding, the challenge was was not in finding that material, because it definitely exists. And we have Renee Tachima Pina, who's a filmmaker, and she's the professor who spoke to a lot of the Asian American issues, as well as George Takei. So they were really extremely helpful in pointing me in the right direction and introduced me to several people. And then the Japanese American National Museum became a great resource. The bigger challenge in talking about those issues was actually Dr. Noguchi, because he so wanted to be identified as American and not Japanese that he, even to this day, he would not talk so much about race being an issue when it so clearly was. And the community recognized it in a way that Dr. Noguchi wasn't even so comfortable talking about. So the challenge was less in finding that material and more in getting him to speak about it in a way that was accurate to what happened. But there are other elements that we didn't include, like Dr. Noguchi actually denounced his Japanese citizenship because he wanted to prove so much that he was an American. He said, "I'm not Japanese, I'm American." So that hurdle was certainly a challenge.
Yeah, I'm curious about the cooking show. What's interesting about it is just from someone who's just learning all about this the first time is, I don't know.
Meaning cooking?
Yeah, cooking for sure. But I don't know, I'm curious about when that took place, or because for somebody who maybe has been accused of wanting a spotlight, would want to maybe avoid a spotlight in a way.
Yeah, you would think maybe. But there's very little information out there about the cooking show. I was very lucky to find the few clips that I did. But we didn't talk about it much, and not many people remembered it. But I mean, once he got fired, then he was teaching. He was demoted, obviously, but he leaned into being the coroner to the stars because it was beneficial to him. He wrote 2 New York Times best-selling books. He had the cooking show. That folk song that you hear during that sequence by
that's a trip by Frank.
Yeah.
So that's a real song back in the. You guys remember that song in the toward the end? That's pretty it's not a very nice, but it's funny. But it's like, how do you process that?
Yeah, it was one of the few critical voices we could find against Dr. Noguchi. And then we have the CNN reporter who was able to sort of throw some shade. And then it's things like that, right? Like showing this cooking show, showing that he's leaning into being the coroner to the stars. Again, there was the benefit of him, a financial and career aspect at that point in his life. But I do hope that the film asks these questions, right? Like, was he after his own spotlight? Was he after his own fame? Was he the attention seeker that the media wanted to make you believe that he was? I mean, I have my own personal thoughts, but I think, does he have an ego? Yeah, but you need to have some sort of an ego to be, the person answering these questions for the media. If you didn't have some level of ego, I don't think you would be good at the job. But was he a media hound? I mean, I personally don't think so. I think he had a healthy ego that was necessary.
And truly, who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, especially in this day and age. I think everybody is. I think it's a question over here.
You answered my question. It was about the song. I guess I was just curious, like, how much of a household name was he? Like at the height of, 1980s, 1970s.
I mean, pretty big if you were following these cases, and it's certainly in LA. I mean, I think to a certain demographic, you mentioned Dr. Noguchi and they know who he is. I am excited though to introduce this film to a younger generation and Dr. Noguchi's story, but certainly if you've read any books about the Manson cases or listened to podcasts about Natalie Wood, it's inevitable that Dr. Noguchi will come up.
It's true, and you know, growing up in Southern California, being part of this project for a while, if I ask around, like my parents and people of their kind of generation, they do all know him. And there is a weird, skeptical thing about him. It's part of his story. And it's cool that this does a good job of laying everything bare. And I think the skepticism seems a little odd looking back, I think.
Yeah.
So, Hans' daughter, how hard was that?
She took a little bit of convincing, but I'm so grateful to have Supervisor Han's involvement. Yeah, definitely took a little bit of convincing, just because it's the politics of the job, and the other coroner that you see in the modern day coroner, Dr. Mark Fajardo. He's the one who's sort of giving us the tour, and hey, this is like a card catalog. He's great. He's one of my favorite characters. He was actually fired, and he's like, Board of Supervisors, they fired me. They wouldn't give me the budget I wanted. So it was, in a lot of ways, it was history repeating itself. And I think when I approached Supervisor Han about the project, I had to do so through the angle of like, hey, your dad was a huge supporter of Dr. Noguchi, and he plays a big role in this, and I really need somebody to help me flesh out your dad's story and your dad's involvement in this. So there's always sensitivities. With this project, I mentioned death and celebrities, and people are like, I don't want to touch that.
Well, to her credit though, Janice Hahn came to our screening in LA and spoke to Noguchi's face and said, we really owe you a debt of apology.
She did.
And she
did. It was an incredible moment. Yeah, it really was.
Did you film this?
Yes. Yeah, Dr. Noguchi was on the red carpet, so there was a certain irony there of the coroner of superstars being present at the premiere of his film. But I like that about it.
And so, just where are you at with this film right now? And what's
So we are just trying to get the film out there to be seen at festivals. We would love to, not only screen it at festivals across the states, but like I want to get the film to Japan, and I want Dr. Noguchi to be able to go to Japan one last time and be in front of an audience with this film. He really wants to as well. So we're just trying to get the word out there, hopefully get some distribution, and be on streamers and whatnot by 2026. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please remember to vote, and they'll be collecting them outside.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for your awesome talk.
Just take these and just where it says best, just rip it there. And then some of you will have on your little evidence kits, you can scan to leave a review on Letterboxd or Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb. That really helps a film like ours. Give it a nice review, get the word out.